Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Let's talk about personal growth. Let's talk about a spiritualistic philosophy in regards to spiritual growth. Now, that's different, right? Normally, you hear about personal growth and got to go to a therapist, yada, yada, yada. No. We're going to talk about a spiritualistic philosophy approach to personal growth. All right? Here we go. Oh, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe. If you have been a spiritual seeker for a while now, like me, then you've come to your own personal understanding about how life is interconnected with the spiritual realm. And when you really ponder this realization about how life is interconnected with the spiritual realm, wow, that's kind of scary, don't you think? It's scary in that, you have tried to pull back the looking glass just a little bit to see who you really are. And you may have found some things about yourself and your life that you feel bad about, right? Or you wish you never had done. And I think that's normal in any situation. We always do a little self-reflection and think, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. But, that's the beauty of being a spiritual seeker. You have learned to become brave enough to see all that you are. Again, at least trying to see who you are. Our egos want us to stay in the emotional comfort zone of who we think we are or who we should be. And our egos many times want us to remain defensive and block out the path of spiritual growth because, it leaves us feeling very vulnerable. And we don't like to feel vulnerable. The philosophy of spiritual growth is all about understanding and living a life trying to align your inner consciousness with your outer actions with the interconnectedness with the spiritual realm or universe or God. Spiritual seekers understand that we are spiritual beings first and foremost, living a human life. So a good way to start aligning your consciousness to the interconnectedness of the spiritual realm or universe is to always do your best in every situation, positive or negative, that presents itself to you knowing that you are first and foremost a spiritual being living a human life. We have our challenges because since birth, we have been conditioned and immersed into this three-dimensional physical world to live successfully as a productive and successful human being, which has meant that we must learn to be competitive, understand that it's a dog-eat-dog world that approves of the survival of the fittest, and accept that it's okay for weaker people and species to be dominated over. And eventually, as a spiritual seeker, that doesn't resonate with you at all. Because your inner being shows you glimpses of the spiritual being of who you really are. A spiritual being who longs for pure loving essence that we felt from our true spiritual home. And this longing starts to bubble up every time during conflicts, giving you the emotional and physical sensations of wanting to feel the powerful energy of the universe's pure love. And during those really hard times where we feel despair, misunderstood, hated, rejected, isolated, and the tears just come pouring out in heaps of gasping breath, and your stomach aches, and sometimes you may get a little chest pain because you're longing so much to feel the love. And our physical bodies, well, they react to this physical longing, the spiritual longing, and wanting interconnectedness in very physical ways. This physical reaction is a huge red flag waving in the air that you should pay attention to. And after calming down and after listening to the ranting and the raving of your ego, wanting to justify your words and behaviors in every situation, especially that situation, after calling up a friend to rehash the situation, to feel validated that you were right and they were wrong, to try to really settle down after this and to listen to the still quiet voice coming to you from within, from the spiritual realm. And if you're really upset and shaken by the situation, well, give yourself some grace. Give yourself time to allow your ego, your beliefs, and your thoughts to quiet down. You may even need a day or two or even a good night's sleep to be able to come to a place where you can really calm down and listen. If meditation helps, then do this. But if you need to honor and feel the cathartic event that just happened to you, then you need to honor your humanness. That's right, your humanness. Remember, we're spiritual beings, but we're also human, right? And we've got to deal with our humanness. And when you're ready to come to a place where you can be mentally open and sensitive, then you can receive the loving message from the spiritual realm or universe that they want to give to you. You may have your own process of coming to this receiving space. I call it the receiving space. You may have your own process of coming to this receiving space by way of meditation, going for a walk in the forest, or going to the beach to hear the crashing waves of the ocean, or going for a walk around the block in your neighborhood. Just sitting in your backyard in the early morning hours with a good cup of coffee to feel the energy of Mother Nature singing to you with bird songs. Sometimes that does it. And sometimes this receiving space happens while taking a shower or during a task that puts your monkey mind into a state of automatic pilot so that the spiritual guidance and messages slip through to your conscious mind, right? How many of you have gotten good answers to a problem or a question that you've been pondering upon after taking a shower or washing the dishes, or you wake up in the morning and go, oh, that's what I should do. Well, that's the spiritual realm speaking to you. And when in this receiving space, you can begin to feel a presence. You may not recognize this presence and equate this presence as, just going within. I'm just going within and I'm feeling something. But if you pay attention, you will come to know that there is a presence within you. You may feel the shift of energy that happens when you are truly in this receiving space. And when in this receiving space that is sacred and holy, for it is sacred and holy, you can begin to receive the love that has been there all along waiting for you to receive it. That's right. And this pure loving energy from the universe may feel so intimate, so powerful, that you can begin to cry because it's so powerful. And that's okay. That's okay to cry, to feel that love. Go ahead and cry as you realize this love has been there all along, waiting for you to receive. And at this point, your subconscious may bring in beautiful memories of a loved one who has passed, such as your mother or father, and then you start to feel their presence and hear them telepathically speaking to you. Honor this message, however you receive it. Validate the presence and message you receive. This message is only meant for you. And this is a spiritual healing being given to you with some guidance on your path through this human life. This is where personal growth begins. Personal growth as we all know, begins from within. You can buy all the self-help books you want about personal growth, but the bottom line is personal growth comes from having a personal interconnectedness with the spiritual realm or universal realm. This is an intimate relationship that you already have. It's been there since the day you were born. And when you honor this interconnectedness with the spiritual realm and pay attention and respond to the messages seriously, you can begin to recognize your personal growth and see how this growth kind of ripples outwards into your daily life. You may find yourself going from an egocentric mindset of just me, right? It's all about me, to a world-centric mindset of we or us, right? Us. You begin to understand that your problems and the world's problems must be solved in a loving, cooperative manner. And it starts from within yourself, loving yourself as authentically as possible so others can see and feel this authentic, loving energy that you are giving out to the world. They may not accept this loving energy resonating from you, but that's okay, because it's their responsibility to learn all about their own personal growth, right? We're not responsible for anybody else's personal growth, just ourselves. So send them love and continue your spiritual growth, your spiritual path, and enlightenment. After all, this human existence is truly all about learning lessons that only this earth school can provide to the spiritual beings who agree to be incarnated into the flesh. That's us, right? That's us. And if you have experienced this openness and have come to a basic understanding of how important it is to be loving yourself and others and accepting them in the place where they are at, then you are evolving spiritually. You're making progress in your personal growth, as subtle as that may seem to be. You know, Gary Zukav has a wonderful book called The Seat of the Soul. And in this book, he discusses the evolution of the human consciousness. I hope you can see this. He states our current understanding of evolution results from the fact that we have evolved until now by exploring physical reality with our five senses. We have been until now 5 sensory human beings. This path of evolution has allowed us to see the basic principles of the universe in just concrete ways. And we see through our 5 senses that every action is a cause that has an effect, right? And that every effect has a cause. So we see the results of our intentions in concrete ways. But something has been happening during the last several decades. We are leaving behind exploration of the physical world as our sole means of evolution. We are evolving from 5 sensory human beings into multi-sensory human beings. You know, when you have evolved from living a life in your 5 senses to make your decisions to a multi-sensory being, when you begin to feel more whole and expanded. A multi-sensory person perceives the world in an understanding that they are never alone, and the universe is alive, conscious, intelligent, and compassionate. A multi-sensory human being totally understands that this physical world is a learning environment that is created jointly by the souls that share it. and everything that occurs within it serves their learning. You learn from other people as well as yourself. That's the way it is. The multisensory human understands how important it is to learn and utilize the spiritual senses, okay? The spiritual senses of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and all the other clairs in their everyday life. Wow, is that mind-blowing or what? Yeah, it is. Because for those of us who know that we have naturally psychic gifts and mediumistic gifts, we think they're separate from our five senses. No, they're interconnected. Everything's interconnected. So while you're using your five senses in your everyday life, you're actually using your multisensory spiritual senses at the same time. They're just more subtle, and you need to learn to recognize them. So integrating these spiritual senses along with the five physical senses is how to live life authentically. And the philosophy of spiritual growth can be studied from the laws of nature, both on the seen and unseen sides of life. Which means you must have that interconnectedness of your human life experiences with the unseen, metaphysical side of life with your spiritual senses. And if you keep these things separate, as our present-day culture says and has programmed us to do, you will always have a difficult time with progressing in your personal spiritual growth. A large part of our spiritual growth comes from the unseen realm through self-reflection. You know, there are 12 spiritual laws of the universe that come from the unseen realm. Spiritual realm or universal realm or metaphysical realm, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, the ancient mystics, teachers, and philosophers have come to understand as they have gone within to understand this mysterious realm. And so I'm going to go briefly through each spiritual law so that you can become familiar with them. Now remember that all of these spiritual laws are interconnected with each other as a whole. But in our human understanding, we've come to separate them to understand the wholeness of the energetic realm of the spiritual world. You know, we like to break down the wholeness of something into individual parts to understand something better. You know, it's like wanting to understand how a car works. And so with its each individual part and how it works, you know, it's like taking apart something and then putting it back together going, oh, that's how it works. That's how that car works. You know, each part is just as important as the other part. All right, here's the 12 spiritual laws, and you may have heard them. You have they may have different titles, but they're the same. So the first one here is the law of divine oneness. The foundational law teaches us that everything in the universe is interconnected and inseparable. We are all interconnected expressions of the divine source. Our thoughts, feelings, and actions have a rippling effect that reverberates throughout the cosmos. Yeah, you've heard of that, right? Your thoughts do not just stay with yourself. Your thoughts ripple out like a pebble being thrown into the pond. It ripples out. It gets connected to other things and other people. All right. So we are all interconnected expressions of the same divine source. Our thoughts, feelings, and actions have a rippling effect that reverberates throughout the cosmos. Law number 2, the law of vibration. Everything in the universe is in a constant state of motion and vibrates at its own frequencies. Thoughts, emotions, and even physical matter are all forms of energy vibrating at different frequencies. And by raising our vibration through practices such as meditation, having a sense of gratitude, appreciation, and creative expression, we can attune ourselves to higher states of consciousness. And the law of vibration is being studied by our scientists. They're finding all sorts of interesting things about vibration and frequencies. Law number 3, the law of correspondence. And this is a law that teaches as above, so below, right? As within, so without. And there is a correspondence between the microcosm and the macrocosm. The small parts and the large parts, right? The small parts of the universe to the larger parts of the universe. By examining our inner world and addressing any imbalances or discordance, we can affect change in the outer world and create alignment between our thoughts, beliefs, and external circumstances. And everybody knows this one pretty much. The law of attraction. Like attracts like. Our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs emit vibrational frequencies that attract similar frequencies into our lives. The law of inspired action. Now, this law tells us that we must do our part and take responsibility to live in accordance with creating our own happiness or our unhappiness. That's right. You create all of it, the positive and the negative, the good and the bad. It's meeting the universe, the spiritual realm, halfway for living a contented, happy life in this earthly realm. And by taking aligned action guided by inspiration and intuition, which we sometimes get from the spiritual realm and our loved ones, we signal to the universe our readiness to receive our desires and co-create with the divine intelligence that permeates all of creation. Number 6, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is never created or destroyed. It simply changes form, right? We've heard this from Einstein. He said this. Energy is not created or destroyed. It's just changed. This law teaches that we have the power to transmute or change the lower vibrational energies into higher states of consciousness through conscious awareness and intention. Number 7, the law of cause and effect, also known as karma. And this law teaches us that every action has a corresponding reaction. Our thoughts, words, and actions create energetic ripples that shape our experiences and determine the trajectory or path of our lives. And the law of compensation. Number 8. The universe naturally operates with checks and balances, a system of balance and fairness. When we give freely of our time, talents, and resources without expectation of return, we open ourselves up to the abundance of the universe and invite blessings and opportunities into our lives. Number 9, the law of relativity. Everything in the universe is inherently neutral and unbiased. It is our own personal perception and interpretation that assigns meaning and value to our experiences. This law invites us to view challenges and obstacles from a broader perspective and recognize that there is always a higher purpose and lesson to be understood from every situation. Number 10, the law of polarity. Opposites are two sides of the same coin, and duality is an inherent aspect of the universe. And this law teaches us that every experience contains within it the potential for growth and transformation. By embracing both the light and the shadow aspects of ourselves, the good and the bad, right? We got to accept the bad. We can achieve greater balance, wholeness, and integration on our spiritual journey. The law of rhythm, number 11. This law speaks of the only constant in the universe, and that is change. Change, and everything operates in cycles and rhythms. And this law reminds us that life is a series of ebbs and flows, and that we must embrace the natural rhythms of existence rather than resisting or trying to control them, right? That's what we like to do. We want to control our everyday lives. But the best thing to do is to surrender. Surrender to the flow of life and honoring the seasons of expansion and contraction. We can cultivate a greater sense of peace, acceptance, and trust in the divine unfolding in our journey. The law of gender. Yeah, this is a good one. The law of gender. Now, this law pertains to the masculine energies, okay? It's not the masculine gender like we think of, but it pertains to the masculine energy and the feminine energies and the principles that exist within all of creation. Just as yin and yang energies work in harmony to create balance and synergy, the law of gender teaches us the importance of embracing and integrating both aspects of ourselves. By honoring our intuition and nurturing our creativity and embodying qualities of receptivity and action, we can harness the power of divine union and bring forth our highest potential. Now, aligning with these 12 universal spiritual laws can offer you many benefits, both on a personal and a collective level. When you cultivate and nurture a deeper sense of unity, connection, and purpose, you can experience greater harmony in your relationships, increased clarity and focus on your goals, and a heightened sense of empowerment and mastery in your personal growth. It is important to understand these spiritual universal laws to help you sort out difficult recurring situations in your life. If you keep feeling negative or hold negative beliefs about what you are seeing and experiencing in life, and you just can't figure out how to release or change these feelings or beliefs, well, look over these spiritual laws to see how you can change things for your personal growth. Write down your situation that you were struggling with and all the emotions and beliefs associated with it. And go through each spiritual law to try and understand which law would help you best understand the situation. And you will see or feel how to create a change in this situation and stop the cycle of being stuck and reacting in the same way as usual. Use this understanding of the spiritual laws when you go within to that receiving space that I talked about of interconnection and interconnectedness with the spiritual realm. You'll be amazed at how this divine spiritual connectedness will help you bring helpful messages to you. Plus, as you focus upon these 12 spiritual laws, you'll be in touch with your true spiritual nature, the spiritual being that you are. And you'll be amazed at how your life will change and you will see personal growth. Now, if you seem stuck, stuck in doubting this spiritual realm and how something unseen is helping you, then I have an exercise for you to try. An exercise to try to prove to yourself that the spiritual realm, universe, or God, or infinite intelligence is working very closely with you. Okay? Some say, look for the angel numbers, right? I think most of us know about the angel numbers, and they can come to you, such as 1111 or 333, or my number that seems to always pop up is 555, which means life transitions, personal growth, and transformation. But, if you don't really believe in these angel numbers, then try this experiment. This energy experiment is the very first experiment in Pam Grout's E², 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments that prove your thoughts create reality. I'm going to hold it up here. The experiment is called the Dude Abides Principle. There is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities. The premise of this experiment will prove to you once and for all that there is a loving, abundant, totally hip force in the universe. That comes from Pam's book. She calls it the hip force of the universe. Some people call it God, infinite intelligence, however you want to call this beautiful force. Because we bought this idea that the force is vague and mysterious, we don't really expect to find it, or at least we're not surprised when we don't find it. Because we haven't been trained to notice this inspiring, energizing, life-altering force that's zooming in and out and all around us and through us without our awareness, right? We're not aware of it. So here is the method for this really cool experiment. And in this experiment, you're going to devote 48 hours, okay? 48 hours to look for evidence of this all-knowing, all-perfect field of infinite possibilities. And to up the stakes of this looking, you're going to ask this loving force for a blessing or an unexpected gift. You're going to give it 48 hours to send you a gift you wouldn't normally receive, such as a surprise check or money in the mail, a card from an old friend, something that is truly just unexpected and that would blow your mind away when you receive it, see it. You're going to give it 48 hours to send you a gift you normally wouldn't receive. You don't get to specify the blessing, but you do need to give it a clear, defined request and a concrete deadline. And as always, it helps to ask for the help in recognizing the gift. Okay? And I would say the best way for you to recognize the gift is that when you see the gift or get the gift, whatever, or the blessing, whatever it is, it brings you a special feeling. It just gives you that, oh my God, this is it. This is my blessing. This is my gift. All right. So here are the steps to take. Pick a time to start the experiment, which would be now. Get out a piece of paper, write down today's date and the time. Ask the force of infinite possibilities, God, infinite intelligence, or universe, to make its presence known to you. Ask for a blessing. And if you like, repeat the intention or approach on the lab sheet that you can write up for yourself. So get a piece of paper, write down the date and time that you started this experiment, and you can write down your intention on this sheet. Okay, that's it. Then let it go and start observing. Okay, start observing. Now, I have done this experiment many years ago. I had a Facebook group in which we discussed all things psychic and mediumship. I bought this book, and with a group of people who wanted to work together to become more sensitive to their intuition and psychic awareness, we decided to work on this experiment. And we started this experiment on a Saturday evening. This meant I had to receive a gift or a blessing by Monday evening. Sunday came and went, and I just kept saying to the universe, show me my gift. Come on, show me my gift every so often throughout the day. Monday morning came, and still no gift. Okay, all right. Monday afternoon came, still no gift. I was really starting to feel let down. I thought maybe I did something wrong. I was thinking now I have to tell my Facebook group that the teacher who believed in all things unseen was a failure. So, as I approached my car in the parking lot, at the end of the day at work, something caught my eye, a piece of paper, and something told me, go look at it. I thought, what the heck, why not? So I did. I went over and I picked up that green piece of paper, and would you know it? It was a $2 bill. A $2 bill. Now, people don't carry those things as often as maybe they used to. That's a rare dollar bill or $2 bill. I guess I shouldn't call it a dollar bill. I just went, oh my God, this is it. I got my gift. The universe, God, gave me a gift right on time at the end of the day, but right, I got it. And I was screaming in the parking lot as my other coworkers were coming out to their cars and looking at me like, okay, what's with her, right? I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I got it. So I was on cloud 9 for days, and I reported my findings to the group, and they were amazed. And I even showed them the $2 bill. In fact, I thought I was going to keep it, but I don't think I have it anymore. That was, gosh, a long time ago. Now, some people in the group, they had success. You know, they came across a billboard message or something passed them by on the side of a bus or something, you know, that they just went, oh my God, that phrase totally fits me right here and now. And I normally would never have gotten that. So it's going to come to you in many different ways. But then other people, they just gave up, right? They just gave up. And so you need to take a note of how you feel about asking the universe for a blessing or a gift. And if you feel a bit antsy about it or feel a bit funny about it because you don't believe that you deserve a gift, well, then that's sending out to the universe that you really don't want it, right? So perhaps you think it's only appropriate to ask for something you need. So ask for something that you need, something practical that you may need. But you have to believe in it. You have to believe totally, without a doubt, that this is going to happen for you. Okay? That's it. So I hope you enjoyed this discussion on my perspective of spiritual philosophy for personal growth. And I hope it'll help you along your spiritual journey. And I hope it gave you little tidbits to think about. Okay? All right. Until next time, go with peace, love, and light. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye.